Hello, everybody, and welcome to the seventh episode of the BadMotoGP-Show. As you can see, I've brought Remy along again because Keelan's still on vacation. Actually, he came back yesterday, I believe, or today, something like this. And I would like to give him a break and not overload him with content as he probably hadn't time to watch the races. So yeah, excited to have you back. I'm back from Jerez as well. Just arrived a couple of hours ago. So you enjoyed the races?
Races were really good. Thank you for having me back. I appreciate it. Tell me about the race. How was it? Of course, watching it on TV is great, and we'll go into that. But how was the atmosphere? Obviously the weather was probably much better than Portugal, which was nice. But tell me all about it. How was it?
Yeah, first of all, the organization in Spain is top from top to bottom. It's awesome. You can go there without knowing anything. It's my first time in Jerez, so we didn't know where to park. We didn't know how to get to the track, and everything is organized so well that you just have to go to the track, and everything is self-explanatory. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is amazing. It's not in every place like this. We had a bit of a bad situation in Portugal last year where we went to the track and then the police pretty much told us, yeah, you have to go back to the city center and buy yourself a parking ticket, which were sold in some kind of a museum. It was so strange. It was really, really bad because everybody went to the track because they didn't know this. This was on a Friday. We were pretty lucky that we were there on a Friday. Everybody headed to the city center where the traffic first of all was very, very bad. Then there was a huge line of people trying to get those stupid parking tickets. And after we solved this problem on Saturday and Sunday, it was pretty much okay. But in Portugal, you weren't allowed to bring food into the.
I heard they were very strict about that. Very, very strict. No
Crazy.
camera with any decent
No,
lens or
no,
anything, right?
no chance to bring them in there. It's crazy. And Spain is so laid back. It's amazing. You can bring your own food. There were people with cameras, like big cameras, and they didn't care. And it's so great. And yeah, we were sitting at the Jorge Lorenzo corner, which is named
Wow.
after my favorite rider. Yeah,
That's
so
amazing.
that was pretty unfortunate. But apart from the name, the spot is awesome. When you sit on the last corner in Jerez, you can see pretty much everything from the start. The first corner, there's this bridge, so you don't see it as well, but the where they're coming around, then the back straight. If you're on top of the grandstand, you can see the back straight as well. And then they're coming back, unfortunately, the stadium section where all the Spanish fans were, you cannot see them. But then those, I believe, Ferrari corner, is it? I
Yeah,
don't know.
I think
The
so.
two fast right corners, you see them coming back there. And then the last corner is so beautiful to see because you see all the carnage, you see all the
A lot of
overtakes.
incidents have happened
Yeah.
at that corner.
Yeah.
And honestly, to be fair, Lorenzo, when he was at Yamaha, was boring. The racing was boring. I can totally appreciate how amazing he was, but it was boring to watch. And then that whole cringy monster video where they paid those ladies to hang out at his apartment. That was super horrible. But then once he started accepting that sort of villain role, he actually became like once his tongue sort of loosened and he started tweeting some crazy shit out, then he became actually very entertaining. So I think if he would have accepted that villain role, because he should have understood you cannot be the hero in the same story where Valentino Rossi is the hero.
Of course.
So if you can't be the hero, the only thing you can either be is a sidekick, which you don't want to be because you want to be equal. So the only one equal to the hero is the villain. So be the villain to his hero, and you're going to be one of the main characters. You know what I mean? He tried too hard to be the hero, and you can't do that. You just can't.
Yeah, that's true. And I have a theory that they aren't actual Jorge Lorenzo fans because from a personal standpoint, he's horrible. Nothing to like about him. What you can like is his riding, which was exceptional. No hate there, but I just don't like the person. And yeah, that there aren't any Jorge Lorenzo fans, that are just fans who hate Valentino Rossi, and he was pretty much the first one who was being competitive. So they all gathered around him, and then when Marcus came along, a few left for Marcus. But yeah, you're right. The villain Jorge Lorenzo is certainly a great role, but he didn't play it very well. For example, Conor McGregor, he can play this villain role perfectly. And either you love him or hate him for it, but people are tuning in. But Lorenzo is kind of he wants to be liked by everybody, and he comes across a little bit insecure, you know.
Yeah.
So
and that's really and poor guy, like, you know, when you look at his life story and, you know, his relationship with his dad. I mean, his dad wasn't, when he was just announced as a legend, his dad was not even there. I don't think he got invited. He had a very troublesome relationship. But then now you can say, okay, well, his overbearing dad made Lorenzo the guy that he is, which is fine. Maybe yes, maybe no. But the thing is, you see this a lot in elite athletes that, you know, where their parents are the ones that are pushing them. They have a very tumultuous relationship. And so he's never quite learned the social skills. And so even when he was a villain, he was sort of letting out the anger. But at the end of the day, there's a deep part of him that still wants to be liked.
yeah.
And so there was always that conflict. Like, the true villain doesn't give a care what, you know, doesn't give a shit what you think. You know what I mean?
No. He cares. He cares. First
of all, totally cares.
He blocked me. He blocked me on Instagram for talking shit. Yeah. There was this photo he posted where he was in Valencia last year, where Valentino Rossi had his last race, and there's this huge wall where everybody signed, and there's this picture of Valentino, and he was posing in front of it, and I commented down below, "Please leave," which which got to be the top comment, and he didn't block me then. There was an incident later, but merely after that last race, he blocked me. And yeah, Raul Fernandez blocked me too after talking
Really?
shit that he's the moral champion. Yeah. So he cares. He cares about what people think. You see it on 100%. His Instagram as well, because he's reposting everything which is a little bit Jorge Lorenzo supporting or positive towards him. He's reposting it immediately. He's responding to comments a lot more than Valentino or Mark, for example. Yeah, so
I don't even think Valentino himself actually does his social media. I think he has somebody that does it for him. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that you can call yourself a good memer or MotoGP meme person if you haven't been blocked by at least one or more riders. Like, I think MotoGP and me personally, I think we've been blocked by 3 or 4 riders. I know, for example, Colin Edwards, Cal Crutchlow for sure. There's a story there which I cannot tell on the air, but I will tell you off the air. Yeah, it's a good one. But Cal Crutchlow blocked me and a couple other. But yeah, it's I don't think that's like a badge of honor you have to wear. You know what I mean? But I want to know, actually, so, you know, of course, we're used to the commentators just fawning over Marquez, but at the track, whenever when Marquez finally passed Miller the first time, or when he did that, you know, you could hear even on the broadcast this huge crowd cheer. Now, is that Dorna turning up the volume on the ambient crowd noise, or is that for real?
This is for real. I mean, usually it's Valentino Rossi fans and then everybody else. And this time it was Marc Marquez fans and then everybody else, because everybody's wearing Marquez hats. Could be part of the reason that Rossi is retired, that there aren't many, but there are still like second most Rossi fans. But pretty much everybody is pro Marquez.
You still see a lot of yellow, a lot of 46, a lot of everything?
Yeah. Wow. I mean, in Valencia and in Misano last year, which I also attended, it was crazy much, because it was Rossi's last home GP and it was Rossi's last GP. So naturally, a lot of Rossi fans come out there. But yeah, in Spain, it's Marquez dominated. And they were cheering when he passed Jack Miller. And what was crazy, when he saved in the last corner, the crash, everybody was for a brief second in shock mode, where everybody jumped up and was screaming, "Oh, what is he doing?" And then after they realized he saved it, everybody was cheering. So this is real. I've experienced the opposite in Austria, which is also a quite funny story last year. where Marc Marquez crashed in the rain and the entire grandstand erupted and celebrated his crash. Which was kind of funny. No, but in Spain, Marc Marquez is the hero. I mean, we talked about Jorge Lorenzo. There is no room for Jorge Lorenzo when you have Valentino Rossi and you have Marc Marquez in your era. So yeah, you have to be the villain. But the Marquez love is real. Yeah,
it's real. All right, fair enough. Somebody's buying those hats for sure.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I like to criticize him a lot and make fun of him a lot because of the obvious. The 2015 season, I don't agree with it. And he has many situations on track where I believe that it's not necessarily how a fair rider approaches things, but that's a different story. But
yeah, I actually have a comment about that written in my notes, which
we will come to that. But but from a personal perspective, he seems like a nice guy, and he's friendly, and I have heard nothing negative about him personally. I just don't condone how he I just don't agree how he acts on the motorcycle, you know. But from a personal standpoint, there's pretty much nothing to hate about him.
It's like almost the opposite. Like Lorenzo as a rider, you're just like, wow. But as a person, you're like, I'll call you, you know, don't call me, I'll call you. But with Marquez, you're like, you know, I bet you that dude's actually pretty good. Let's go get some tacos, right? I know that's a Mexican food, but you know, like, let's go hang out. But as a rider, you're like, you know, over the beers that you're having with Marquez, you'd be like, homie, could you like not run into other people as you're passing them? It's not totally cool, you know? Yeah. So I get it. That's very interesting, you know?
Yeah, but your comment to Marquez. What do you have written down?
Well, you know, with Marc Marquez, let's see. So for Marc, if we're going to start with Honda, I said, you know, as a solid finish. So how much of that, he did have a decent finish after saying that, you know, the best they could accept. Marquez before the weekend had said after Friday was like, look, the Monday test starts today. The best we can hope for is 20th. He qualifies decent with a very famous toe situation with a lace. And he finished solid, but still not obviously the Marc Marquez we know. How much of it is at this point? How much of it do you think is the bike? How much of it do you think is the injuries? You know, I mean, is he still suffering? Is it just like any other rider that's gotten really hurt and has come back and shown flashes of brilliance? Even after Rossi broke his leg, he came back and fought for the championship, but he was never quite the same rider as he was before. How much of it is the bike? Because obviously the other Honda riders are nowhere. And how much of it do you think is the bike?
I refuse to believe that Marc Marquez is at his best when we take 2019 at his best, because it's simply not possible. It would be a miracle if he's now as good as he was. But he is still Marc Marquez, and he is one of the best riders we've ever seen in MotoGP history.
100%.
And I do believe that the bike is developed into the front heavy, or were developed in the front heavy balance direction for a reason, and the reason was Marc Marquez. I said that 100 times by now, and he isn't fully confident on the bike, but he's getting there, and he's still doing the best that he can, which is levels above everybody else. So the injury plays a role, the bike plays a role, but he's still very, very, very good.
I think you bring up a good point. Now that you brought up 2019, do you think the Marc Marquez of today, Marc Marquez would have won as many races if he was all of a sudden this Marc Marquez was transported back to 2019, racing the guys that he was racing in 2019?
No, because have you watched the Valentino Rossi documentary?
Yeah. The one that which one?
The one which was released by MotoGP, Tales of Valentino.
Oh, okay. Like episode after the little yellow episodes. Yeah, I've seen most of them. I haven't seen every single.
There was one episode where they talked about the Mugello incident, and Dani Pedrosa, as the expert that he is about motorcycle injuries, came on the set And he pretty much said that when you crash, you don't only have a scar on your body, you also have a scar on your brain.
Wow.
And
Absolutely.
I believe that Marc Marquez is exceptional in this way, that every other rider with this injury would not push as far as he does. But there is still a difference between Marc Marquez 2019, where he was completely fearless, and now, because
Absolutely.
now he knows the risk. He just doesn't want to accept it, kind of. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Still wants to.
Not only the risk, but the consequence, right? Like, I mean, you know, the whole, like, I could bonk my head, and if I high side again, will the double vision last 3 weeks this time? Will it last
forever?
A month and a half? Will it just be permanent? Like, you know, the punishment is now known to me. It's like, hey, I've been to jail. Trust me, I didn't want to commit crimes before, but I definitely don't want to commit crimes now.
Yeah.
You know, I got away with it for a long time, but I've been to jail now. I don't want to go back. You know, it's kind of like that situation.
So
you know, but oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I believe if you time travel today's Marc Marquez into 2019, he will still win the championship and he still win a lot of races, but not as good because he isn't, first of all, pushing as far as he was, because he knows the risk, even though he's pushing it sometimes too far. There's levels to this shit, you know? And I refuse to believe that it doesn't bother him at all, but it bothers him very little, which is very impressive. So yeah, I don't believe that he will be as good, but still very good. And even today, if today Marc Marquez had the bike which was developed purely for him, he would be better than he is right now, because this bike pretty much is developed for Pol Espargaro, because Marcus didn't have much to say because he was injured, so he couldn't really test. And the swing happened while he was injured. So Honda realized, okay, we can't put all our eggs in one basket. We need to listen to the other riders, and Paul is the second best rider at Honda right now. So I believe he had a lot to say there. With his,
they should send that telegram to Yamaha too, but we'll come back on that.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, that was one of the funny things. You know, talking about like what you're talking about Marquez earlier, was that, you know, during the race, one of the commentators like, oh, another clean and precise pass by Marquez, as he is known to do, and I'm like, homie, that is like the last thing he's known for, is his clean passes. Like, he barrels into the side of people half the time. So I thought that was hilarious that they were even trying to say, what did they say, like another trademark surgical and clean pass by Marquez. I was like, well, Alex Marquez, who are we talking about here? You know?
Yeah, it's like praising Dennis Öncü for his clean riding style, you know.
Yeah,
I mean, you can praise Marc Marquez for a lot of things, but this is probably not his strongest point. Let's be honest here.
And I think the annoying thing is that he gets away with a lot more because of who he is. I think it's a lot of people can feel the same annoyance inside. And like, you know, the popular kid in school used to get away with a lot more shit, but if you did that, you would have been immediately suspended from school. And you see that person keep on doing that, and nothing ever happens. You know, Aleix, I think, protests a little bit too much sometimes, but he's not completely off base. That Marquez gets away with some of the stuff that none of the, or even Remy Gardner said that, you know, it's like, yo, if I would have done what Marquez had been doing, I would have started from the back of the pack. And I totally 100% believe him. You know, and I think that creates a sort of resentment, not only amongst the riders, probably to a certain extent, but definitely the fans.
Yeah, but he's still the top dog at Honda, even with his injuries, because Pol Espargaro is doing his best to be fired.
Oh, he's going to be fired.
Yeah,
we'll talk about exactly why, but he's not going to be at Repsol Honda next season. I 100% don't believe it.
Especially with the Suzuki situation, what we will get in later. Pol Espargaro had an amazing test. He had an amazing start to the season, but after Qatar, he pretty much fell off. I don't know why. And he did good in the Jerez test as well, but it's just a test, so, you know. But
Maverick Vinales has topped every test they've ever had. Look at where he is.
So Pol Espargaro is simply not good enough at the moment, where even I, as a kind of Pol Espargaro fan, I met him once. He's a very, very nice guy. We talked at here at Rocco's Ranch.
Nice.
When I did the podcast with Remy, we went to Rocco's Ranch training, and Paul happened to be there, so we talked a little bit. And he's super friendly, very, very nice guy. He was super open, and you don't get the feeling that he was like, oh, there's some random fan, I have to talk to him. But it seemed like he wanted to talk. He was very, very, very friendly. So I like the guy. He won my heart, but his performances, when you just look at the results, simply are not good enough right now. As the other Hondas, I mean, Nakagami was not good. And if you want to fire Nakagami, you have to fire Alex Marquez, I'm sorry, as well.
100%.
So,
I mean, where did Taka finish 7th? Alex Marquez finished 17th. Taka finished, 15 seconds, give or take, behind the winner. Alex Marquez 25 seconds behind the winner. I mean, the only way Taka is going to keep a ride for next season, he has to win a race. If short of winning a race, he's gone. Ogura is coming. Ogura was amazing in Moto2 this past weekend. The only thing Taka has any hope of staying in MotoGP past this season, especially with the whole Suzuki situation that's going on, there's plenty of good riders that might be available very soon, is he would need to seriously, without a doubt, win a race. Not a weird rain race where half the field, like not pull a Joe Roberts, but like a real win. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I disagree. Because I believe that even if Nakagami wins a race, we pretty much know where his ceiling is right now. He's a good rider, of course, but he's not special, and there's no way he's getting podiums consistently. There's no way he wins an occasional race. And with Ayogura, you don't know. He is very, very good at the end of a race, and we've seen right now what he can do when he has a good qualifying. And if I'm Honda, even if Takaka Nakagami wins one race and have 2 other podiums, I will still put Ayogura in there, because he hasn't.
He has more potential.
Yeah, that's
we already know what. That's a very good point. We already know what Taka can do.
Yeah.
Whereas this person could be worse, but they could be way, way, way better.
The upside is there. It's very like with the NFL draft. We had this a couple of days ago, I believe. When you have a good quarterback and you have a rookie quarterback who could be a superstar, who could be a Patrick Mahomes, you will draft him. And you will, like the Chiefs did a couple of years ago. They drafted Patrick Mahomes, even though they had Alex Smith, and Alex Smith was good, nothing to complain there, but he wasn't special, and they took the chance and it paid off. And the same applies to MotoGP. If you are Honda, first of all, you are lacking good riders, because apart from Marc Marquez, nobody's doing the job. And you have to market an Asian rider. That's why Takaka Nakagami is in MotoGP in the first place. He wasn't special in Moto2. And if you have a good Japanese rider, why not take a good Japanese rider over an average,
Oh, absolutely. And it's funny to say that about, like, how many guys are in GP this weekend? 25. Those are 25 special guys. But even amongst those special guys, you have to be special at this point, because special is now the basic. Of course you're special, you're here. Now what are you going to do to show yourself that you're even more special? And so it's a big ask. And Taka is, of course, special. He's in MotoGP. He's one of the best riders in the world, but he's not special enough. And Ayogura could maybe be that, shining diamond that Honda need, or
Imagine
they're in a tough spot.
Imagine if Ayogura wins a race on a Repsol Honda. All the Japanese fans would be on fire. Motegi will be sold out, and you don't get this with Nakagami. I mean, we don't have to discuss that the riders in MotoGP are the 1% of the 1%, but you have to be the good 1% of the 1% to stay in MotoGP, And
I've done a lot of hair shows. I've done runway shows because of my profession and everything. And when you're in a room full of models, of course, every model there is pretty. Of course, that's why they're models. But even out of those models, you can be like, that's the one. She's super pretty. And then if she's the prettiest one, then there's got to be the least pretty one. And even though she's a model, that wouldn't be my last choice to maybe do her hair. Obviously I'm happily married, but that would be my last choice. My wife watches these podcasts. I gotta be careful, but so I'm saying, like, even out of this room full of beautiful women, she is the most beautiful, let's say, objectively or subjectively speaking, and so that's the sort of the problem thing. Like, everybody here is super, but you have to be super even within this crowd. And unfortunately, Taka is just not there. And Honda in such dire straits that at this point, if they just hit the flush button on the toilet, got rid of everything and brought in everything new, they really wouldn't be any worse off. I mean, are you trying to tell me that Alex Marquez he finished 13th, 25 seconds behind, that would finish worse than maybe a rookie on that would be, a rookie could finish in the points. Darren Binder did it. We all argued about whether he deserved to be there, And so, they have nothing really left to lose at this point by getting rid of everybody. So,
if you're Honda, it's a little bit of a problem, because if you get rid of 3 riders, you're still stuck in a situation. The only continuity you have is Marc Marquez, and you want to develop the bike for like a broader audience if you want to. But every rider except for Marc Marquez isn't doing their job, and Pol Espargaro needs to be in the top 5 every race, keep his seat, and to be a championship contender, which is the expectance when you're riding for Repsol Honda. He isn't doing that. Takaka Nakagami isn't doing good. Alex Marquez especially isn't doing anything. So I would just get rid of them. I would love to see Chandra and Ogura at LCR. Make it like a LCR Honda Asian Talent Cup Idemitsu racing team,
And bring in some extra money. Absolutely. I mean, because you're right. When Pedrosa was there, he never won the championship. Probably one of the best riders to never win the championship. But he was always, at the end of this championship standings, he was always top 3, top 4 maximum. And plus, it was like any weekend he could legitimately win the race against Casey Stoner, Lorenzo, Valentino Rossi. And on his day, he could beat any of them. I don't get that from Pol Espargaro.
Yeah, of course. And we could switch to the Suzuki situation now, because with Joan Mir and Alex Rins on the market, who are you taking? Pol Espargaro or Joan Mir or Alex Rins? The way they are performing right now, you take the Suzuki riders. And
absolutely.
First of all, I don't understand what the hell is going on with the Suzuki.
What is going on?
Because the only explanation that I have is money. Because the results are there. They are currently leading the team championship.
They won the title 2 years ago.
They won the title. Alex Rins entered as the championship leader together with Fabio to the race. He had a bad race, okay, but because of a bad race, you don't throw the whole MotoGP project out the window.
No.
They
just brought Livio Supo in, which I think that some of Alex Rins and I think some of their better results and more consistency this season is because of Livio Supo. And they just brought him in, and this is his first year back. Like, what are they smoking over?
I don't know.
Suzuki.
It has to be some kind of a management decision. Maybe they have some kind of a new structure on the board, whatever, who aren't pro motorcycle racing. Could be, I don't know. This is the only explanation that I have. And even the money explanation is a tough one for me, because a little bit of my backstory. I worked at Daimler for a little bit. And I was working at the bus department, and Daimler pretty much is now split up into Mercedes-Benz, which is the car section, and Daimler Trucks, which is the truck and bus section. But there used to be one company, which was the Daimler AG. And pretty much every time there was some money lacking at the bus department or the truck department, the car department bailed them out. And I would assume that it's the same with Suzuki, that if the motorcycles maybe aren't doing that good, the car department could bail them out, because Suzuki is doing a lot of road cars which are affordable, which people buy. So it's not like
their Asian market is huge. If you go to any of the Asian countries, every other car is a small, tiny Suzuki car. Absolutely.
But I don't know. I'm not the CFO of Suzuki. I don't know how their financial status is, how much they are willing to invest, for example, in renewable technologies like electric cars, or maybe some hydrogen cars. I don't know. This could be a reason that they simply want to go in a very, very different direction. But this is pure speculation.
Absolutely.
It just doesn't make any sense for me because they doing very, very, very good. They're one of the top 3 bikes on the grid right now. And it's not like Kawasaki a couple of years ago when they were just last and they said, okay, well, fuck this, we don't need to spend millions of euros to be last. But Suzuki is doing well. They have a very, very good program there in MotoGP. It's a good marketing tool to have if you are winning the championship and are on the podium a couple of times a season. You know, this is good. This is good to sell motorcycles. And I don't understand a thing.
Well, interesting thing is that, they have a big title. They're called like Suzuki X-Star or the X-Star Suzuki, but that's their own brand. That's like me saying my son sponsors me. It's like, yeah, but you pay all of your son's bills. You know what I mean? It's like X-Star is your own company. That would be like, oh, well, we're sponsored by AMG. It's like, yeah, but doesn't Mercedes own AMG? Like, how are you being sponsored by your own thing? You know what I mean? And I don't know why they don't have a huge title sponsor that's bringing them tons and tons of money. I mean, even Ducati, it's like, Lenovo Ducati, like they make the laptops or whatever. It's like, how come there's not a company name before that? And I think you made a very good point when you mentioned renewables, because we know that MotoGP or Dorna has said that they want the bikes running on renewable energies or almost all, like fake gas, if you will.
Yeah, they want to be completely fueled by e-fuels by 2027.
2027.
I believe it was 27.
Yeah, which is not that far. I mean, how are you going to make a Honda engine run on something? They could be looking at that and being like, look, that's going to be $1 billion project. Do we want to go down that? Or how many years can we sell this? Oh, yeah, but we just won MotoGP in 2021 or whatever, 2020. How many years is that worth before we need to go back and do that again? Who was the last Suzuki rider to win the championship? Was it Kenny Roberts Jr.? Was he on a Suzuki?
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. So it's like, they rode that for a long time. Maybe they don't want to they look at the long-term investment that's going to require to stay in MotoGP, and that whole renewable business is just not working for them, because the place where they make cars, those countries aren't where they sell most of their cars. There's not really that much of a market or demand from their main, say, target market for battery cars. It's just not. I mean, when I go to Pakistan, which I haven't gone to Pakistan in decades, but if I go, every other car is a tiny blue Suzuki. You know what I mean? That's half of them run on diesel, So I just don't think you're right. They're not making that investment. And maybe they just see this as a long-term investment that they don't want to even start going down that path.
Yeah, I don't know, but it has to be some kind of a financial issue. I can't explain it in any other way. But back to the sport itself, it's sad because it's beautiful to have Suzuki there. It's beautiful that they're competitive. And speaking of the race, Joan Mir did pretty much the best Joan Mir job he is doing, because he did finish what it's like 6th, and no spectacular race, but not a bad race, and was not competitive for the podium, but he was getting there and ready to pick up the pieces if anything happened, And this is pretty much what Joan Mir does. Sometimes this performance leads to a 3rd place. Sometimes it's just a 6th place. But if you want to have a rider who's always good, sign Joan Mir. But he won't be special. He won't be bad, And Alex Rins, he had a terrible weekend where he went off the track, and even he had an amazing race pace. You don't see it on the broadcast, but this is a benefit from watching it live. You can see him getting closer to Lorenzo Savadori and Remy Gardner lap by lap, and he was pulling extreme gaps after he overtook them. Of course, Lorenzo Savadori is just a test rider, and Remy rode with half a bike. He had wing damage.
He said he just torn the other one off.
But it's a benefit of seeing the race live, that you get more of the action which happens off camera. And I don't understand what's going on with the Suzuki. can only explain it that there is some kind of manager or some managers on the board who say, okay, we don't want to, we just look at the number, say, what, they cost like $50 million, whatever. I don't know what a MotoGP team costs. I'll just throw the number out there. I don't want that, cross it out. You know, this is the only explanation that I have, but it's sad for the sport. It's sad for Suzuki motorcycles because
one of the most beautiful bikes on the track too. On the livery is great. The exhaust shape is so interesting. I mean, it's a beautiful bike. They have two great riders that are entertaining to watch. It would be a huge blow. I mean, obviously, I don't think that Ducati would bring two more bikes up, but I have heard rumors that Aprilia would maybe want to carry on a satellite thing there. So they might be up for bringing that up. But yeah, really bad weekend. And do you think that this whole Rins going off the track is like the return? He was even on points with Fabio. Do you think that this is like shades of crack under the pressure Rins again, or was this just bad luck?
No,
because the weather was great.
Yeah, of course, it was just a mistake. Like, mistakes happen. He was in a bad situation where he put himself in for having a bad qualifying and bad free practices. But I guess he wanted to recover places and just made a mistake like he did in the past. But he didn't crash, and he had a horrible crash there in 2020 where he injured himself. So that's a step in the right direction, to not injure yourself where you're out for a couple of races. And I just believe it was a mistake. It's pretty much what's going to happen over a 21 race season, that you will have some mistakes, you know. But overall, you can't really blame him for that. And with the satellite bikes, I had an idea. When I was doing the podcast with Remy, I asked him if he knows anything about KTM bringing 6 bikes, because KTM has so many good up-and-coming riders. And this was obviously before the 2022 season, where what if Pedro banks... what if Pedro hits like he hit last year? You know, then he's moving to MotoGP, and what are you doing? What if Augusto Fernandez all of a sudden becomes a championship contender? What are you doing now? And you don't want to lose all that talent that you built up from the Rookies Cup, from Moto3 to Moto2. You don't want to lose it to the other manufacturers. So I thought that there may be a possibility of KTM bringing 6 bikes, which will get much more likely with Suzuki leaving right now. But yeah, Miguel Oliveira and Brad Binder aren't very impressive. So I believe if they need to make room, for example, for Pedro or whatever, they will have the freedom to make room. But if they want, they could bring 6 bikes. It's not impossible.
Yeah, I mean, Binder didn't have a bad race, and I think that he's still signed on for a couple more years. But yeah, Miguel, it goes back to that thing. It's like, he had that really bad injury. Will he ever be the Miguel Oliveira that we know and love? Now, I know that's a weird thing to say. He won a race this season already, but it was a weird race in the rain. You know what I mean? Physical things become a little bit more easy to deal with when it rains, because you don't brake as hard, you don't accelerate as hard, you don't throw the bike around as hard. And so you have to be careful, a little bit more gentle. And so you can do that while you're still, injured. But so Brad Binder's not going anywhere. Miguel Oliveira, I could see him going somewhere. I mean, Remy Gardner, Remy Gardner, I think, is safer now, because unless Jack Miller finds the perfect spot, I mean, Remy Gardner has the right passport. If we're saying that Taka has the right passport for being GP right now, Remy Gardner has the other good passport. We need an Australian rider. He fits the bill. Jack Miller's there, but how long will Jack Miller be there? Again, Remy is still on the up and up. But yeah, and then of course Fernandez didn't race this weekend, but he did say something very interesting about Pedro Acosta. He said that he thinks that Acosta is trying too hard to ride the bike like a Moto3 bike, where it's trying to wring its neck around the corner and trying to take these really tight lines, and that in Moto2 you just can't do that. You have to take these long sweeping lines that have the more corner speed and just let the bike do its thing. Because if he keeps riding this way, it's just not the way to go fast. And I don't think anybody would say that Pedro Acosta is not supremely talented. Yeah, I think he still has not quite, he's trying to will the bike to his riding style, and he may need to just make some adjustments to his riding style. Once he does, I would be surprised if Pedro Acosta doesn't do much better next year in Moto2 than this year. But right now, he's having a bit of a trouble, but he's an asset, and you want to keep your assets happy. And yeah, if KTM can carry on with 2 more bikes, that would be great. Honestly, anybody bringing in it'd be great if Aprilia brought in 2 more bikes, because it would help them a lot, get more knowledge, and it would, it's kind of like, it should be a point of pride. Hey, we can support 4 bikes. We have a customer that wants our bikes because they're so good. Because KTM already has a satellite team. So it would be kind of cool for Aprilia to bring in 2 bikes, and I have some opinions on Aleix and Aprilia, but we'll get to that when we get to that.
Let's get to it, because first of all, if I'm Dorna, I'm calling Kawasaki and BMW. I'm saying, hey, we have an open spot. We really don't want 10 Ducatis on the bike. No, and for most manufacturers, it's too much to ask for to bring 6 bikes. Maybe Honda. I don't believe Yamaha will do it. Maybe KTM. But even for Aprilia, they're a small factory. A 2-rider team is fine for Aprilia, same as for Suzuki. And I would.
Which is weird, because Suzuki was talking about bringing in a satellite team for maybe next year or 2 years from now, and now all of a sudden they're quitting. So you're like, wait, dude, what are you talking? It'd be like saying, like, yeah, I'm totally thinking about buying an engagement ring, and then you break up with the girl a week later. They'd be like, wait, what happened?
Yeah, that's pretty much the state of Suzuki, and probably everybody who's in the team is as shocked as we are, because you could not see it coming. It's totally insane from a competitive aspect to say, okay, we are done. We aren't doing anything more in MotoGP. They could win the championship this year. It's not impossible. And it has to be some kind of a management decision. But
Aprilia would be cool, and Aprilia, it would be good for them, because I think that, like, for example, I do think that Aleix and Aprilia are. I think you would be silly not to think of them as legitimate title contenders currently. I mean, this is another convincing race by Aleix. I think he's super focused. I don't think that, and there's any doubt that he's one of the hardest working guys, if not the hardest working guy on the thing. So that dedication, is there. And the bike is doing fantastic. It seems to have the agility of the Yamaha, but the power of a V4, and it's just doing really, really well. The tricky thing is, the better the bike is, the more Aleix's seat is in danger. And the better, yes, and I will explain.
I disagree.
I will tell you why. Because the better, first of all, they're already split on money. The better the bike does, the easier it gets for them to attract a better rider. And it makes it easier for them to be like, sorry, we couldn't make it happen. We know of a dope bike. Thanks so much for the development help. Bye-bye. And then they can say, look, Pedro Acosta is now on our bike, or whomever. So ironically, the better Aleix is doing, the more, short of winning the title, of course. If you win the title, that buys you 10 years in GP. He's already been there for 800 years, so 810 years. But the thing is, like, ironically, I think the better Aleix does, if he doesn't win the title, he's actually making it easier for them to replace him with somebody better. Really? All right, let's hear it. Why not?
I disagree, because I would tweak your argument in saying the better Maverick does, the worse it is for Aleix's seat. But as long as Aleix is on the podium and Maverick is in the double digit.
Yeah.
As when Maverick starts to get consistently in the top 10, maybe we can have this discussion. But as long as Maverick is on the back of the grid, because Maverick is a super fast rider. When Maverick is good, he is unbeatable.
He hasn't been good in a long time, though. That's the problem.
Yeah. The problem with Maverick is that he can't figure out how to be fast consistently, especially in the beginning of a race. And it's the same old Maverick story. We discussed it probably 100 times. Yeah. But as long as Aleix is putting the thing on the podium and Maverick isn't getting out of the double digits, if I'm Aleix, I'm saying, okay, here's my number. 10 million, 50 million, sign it or I will head the fuck out, because he isn't doing bad financially. He already thought about retiring. He has a beautiful family. He has a nice Lamborghini. He has a nice Ferrari.
Oh, does he? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's posting a little bit on social media. And if he's not completely financially stupid, he has a lot of money invested, which will serve him later when he isn't racing anymore, because it's inevitable that he will retire one day, obviously. And if you have some money left, buy yourself a Ferrari, buy yourself a Lamborghini, do you, everything's fine. So I don't believe that Aleix has to ride in MotoGP. He wants to ride, and he wants to be on a competitive bike. He doesn't want to go to Yamaha, for example, and develop the bike again. He doesn't want to do it. He wants to be with Aprilia because he's been successful there. This is his bike. And as long as Maverick is having these bad results, if I'm Aleix, I'm just giving them my number and say, okay, figure out how you will be.
But that's the thing. See, like the whole idea of Maverick hasn't been good in a long time, though. You know, because people are starting to get into their head about like, yo, Maverick is a bit of a head case. Aprilia could just be like, hey, thanks for developing the bike. We know it's good. You did great on it. And that other guy's a maniac. He's just, there's something wrong with him. And so we're gonna get rid of both y'alls, and we're bringing in Sergio Garcia and, you know, Efren Guara, you know, or whatever.
Yeah, but it's kind of a pointless discussion to have when you don't have any evidence of any.
We'll bring in Alex Rins from Suzuki. Who would you rather have right now?
Yeah,
I would rather have Maverick or Alex Rins. I would rather have Alex Rins any day of the week.
Yeah, of course, but I would rather have Aleix. If I'm Aprilia, I would rather have Aleix on the thing than Alex Rins.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
And yeah, if the list is long of riders that I would replace Maverick with, but the list is short of riders I would replace Aleix with. And again, Maverick seems like a nice guy. I love him to death.
Yeah, in the documentary, he seemed like a really nice dude.
Yeah, he was so sweet with the situations with his daughter, where he said like, "Oh my God, this is my little bubble. I will never want to leave." I was almost crying because it was so cute. And yeah, but you know, you have to produce and you have to see the results and don't fall in love with the character. You can be a very nice person, but if you are not good at your job, it doesn't matter.
I mean, like, hell, you know, my surgeon could be the nicest person I ever met and my personal best friend, but he's a shitty surgeon. I don't want him doing my heart surgery.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I want the best guy for the job.
Yeah.
I mean, even if he's a bit of an idiot like Jorge Lorenzo. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. And if you don't have any evidence of anybody having good results on Aprilia except Aleix, you can't really have an argument with Aleix saying, "Oh, our bike is so good." No, Aleix is making the bike work. Nobody else. It's like when you're having a hot girlfriend and she's a little bit difficult, you know, and you say, "Oh, I would just have to get out and I will pull 110 after another from the club," but you have no evidence because every other bitch you ever smashed was ugly as fuck, you know. You're getting a little bit lost.
You found the one really hot blind girl.
Yeah. So, you know, you will maybe then say, okay, realistically, I don't have any other shot with a girl which is as beautiful as she is, so I will let a little bit more slide than I would normally, you know.
True, and but that's what they need to do. Then they're trying to be like, they're trying to keep the hot girlfriend, but then also be like, yeah, but you paid for dinner. I don't feel like paying. You know, if they want to lace around, homie, yo, pay up, sucker. I mean, I'm surprised that they haven't still announced that they've re-signed with him yet.
Yeah. It's the same with Yamaha. If I'm Yamaha, if I'm Aprilia, and if I'm Honda, I would be giving Fabio, Aleix, and Mark a blank check. Just write your number in, and we will figure out how to pay it. Because if not, we would be damned. I made a meme about it, and I mean it. It's
100%.
Yeah.
especially with the Fabio situation. Nobody else is doing anything on that bike right now. Absolutely. Like Morbidelli finished 15th, Dovizioso was 17th. Of course, your favorite rider, Darren Binder, crashed very early on in the race, which was sad for him. But Fabio finished second, and him and Pecco were in a world of their own. I mean, it almost kind of reminded me of Catalunya 2009, where it's funny, I'll show people Catalunya 2009, and people that are unacquainted with MotoGP, they'll be like, oh, so only 2 guys race at a time? And I'm like, no, there's like 20 other guys, but these 2 guys are so fast that they left even all those other dudes in the dust. And so it's just these 2 guys against each other right now, which is always surprising. And it kind of almost threw shades of that. Those 2 were in their own little world. And yeah, if Fabio, I think this decision, now I've heard rumors that Lynn Jarvis saying that like they're really close. It's just a formality now. But obviously, until the pen is on the paper, everything is up for grabs.
Yeah.
And I think that the decision for Fabio has probably have gotten a lot harder now after the last couple races. I think it seems like Yamaha had built that bike for the European rounds, and now that they're back from the flyaways, because most of the racing, of course, happens in Europe, the bike seems to be doing well. For Fabio, it would have been a lot easier if the bike was doing really great or really shitty. But it's kind of shitty, and then it's kind of good, and it's kind of shitty, and it's kind of good, and it's making him kind of nervous. And but honestly, where else is he going to go? Soon there might even be one less manufacturer. Some people were saying like, "Oh, dude, Fabio would crush it on a Suzuki." It's like, surprise, Suzuki's not there anymore. So I think that if anything, Yamaha is probably the happiest person that Suzuki is not around, or might be pulling out.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're Yamaha, you give Fabio whatever the hell he wants.
Yeah.
Facts. He's a legitimate world champion.
Yeah, and he's doing. We talked about this last week, that he's pretty much doing Marc Marquez-esque stuff, where he isn't quite as good as Marc Marquez was on the Honda, but he's the only one who's competitive. And I was saying a long time, if I'm Fabio, I will be looking at the Suzuki, which is now out of the window. But where else would he go? To Aprilia?
I mean, I think he could do okay at Aprilia, but
he does everywhere okay, because he's the fucking best rider in the world.
Yeah.
It's like putting Tom Brady in every NFL team. With most of them, he will make the playoffs. But
yeah,
with some,
I love how you know more. On a side note, I love how you know more about American football than I do. Like, I know, obviously, I know who Tom Brady is, but like, I don't watch the draft, and I pretty much MotoGP is one of the only sports I watch, other than the Olympics and stuff like that, and a couple of other things. So it's amazing that you know so much about American football. Do you watch it a lot in Germany?
The hype was getting to Germany a couple of years ago, and I played myself when I was 14, maybe.
Like American style football.
Yeah.
Wow.
I played defensive end in the city down here, but cool. Then I quit. But I like the sport. It's just nothing that I want to do personally. It fucking hurts.
Traumatic brain injury.
And I'm just interested in sports. I also watch UFC a lot. I watch kickboxing. I like watching sport. I don't watch Netflix. I don't watch anything on TV. I just watch sports, and I like to educate myself on the topics that I'm watching. So if I'm balls deep into MotoGP and I can't watch NFL like as a side gig, I want to be balls deep in there too,
Yeah. My favorite joke about kickboxing is by this American comedian named Norm Macdonald. Did you ever hear of him? Norm Macdonald. He just recently,
I didn't understand the first part of
one of my favorite jokes is by this American comedian named Norm Macdonald. Do you know about him?
Nope.
Yeah, but he had this really funny joke about kickboxing where he's like, I love kickboxing. It combines the grace and beauty of boxing with kicking. I love his style of joke. I just thought that was hilarious. But that's cool. But yeah, I mean, back to Fabio. He could do well at any team, but right now, I mean, for as much as the Yamaha sucks, I mean, it's not that bad. He's he won the last race. Oh, yeah, he won the last race, right? And this race, he finished second, way beyond where third was. Like there's a couple times where it looked like he might have something for Pecco, but he may not have been able to beat Pecco, but he definitely beat everybody else.
Yeah.
So.
And Fabio is so calm and collected while being on an inferior bike that he waits exactly for the right opportunity, like Aleix did. Aleix waited until the opportunity occurred and then overtook Miller and Marquez, and he was gone. And Fabio is pretty much doing the same thing, that he waits for his opportunity. And if he is finishing in 8th, he will take that 8th place. If he will finish in 2nd, he didn't break the bank to overtake Pecco? No, because otherwise he would end up in the gravel, because Pecco was unbeatable that day and he accepted it. And I believe it's easy for an athlete to think, okay, I've won in Jerez in 2020 twice. I should have won last year. I need to win now. And he is very calm. He is, for his age, very mature. And I'm really impressed by his performance, because he said, okay, Pecco is better today. I tried everything. No need to risk too much and throw away the championship. And that's why he's leading the championship right now. And regarding the other Yamaha riders, you can't tell me that Andrea Dovizioso and Franco Morbidelli are bad riders all of a sudden. I mean, they're both
talking with the guy who was a runner-up to Marquez 3 years in a row, and 1 year was within one race of winning the championship. You know? So, I mean, I doubt that guy forgot how to ride a bike in a couple of years.
I believe Yamaha is getting too cocky. It's like the same with Honda. They have a bike which is good, and Marc Marquez, respectively, Fabio Quartararo, are doing good on the bike. So no need to develop it, especially with the success Yamaha had. They were good with Valentino Rossi. They were good with Jorge Lorenzo. And now they're good with Fabio Quartararo, because they have this kind of bike which works, if everything works in their favor, is unbeatable, like Portimao, for example. But it's not a winning strategy, as you said, to develop a bike just for the European races. This is stupid, because half of the calendar is outside of Europe. And if you can't win shit in America, and if you can't win shit in Asia, you're pretty much fucked, because what are you going to do? And with this bike, you certainly won't win in Mugello. You won't win in Catalonia. No. I mean, this would be a miracle.
Which is funny, because Fabio won Mugello last year.
Yeah. Last year was a different story, but this year, from the perspective of Monday after the race in Jerez, where Pecco was going toe-to-toe with Fabio on pretty much his best track.
Yeah.
There's no way he doesn't beat Fabio in Mugello.
Yeah, and the thing is, he's only 33 points down with 15 races to go. That's a little over 2 points I mean, that's completely doable. Again, like you said, he beat Fabio at a track that's like Fabio's track. He's done so well there. The fact that he beat him in perfect weather so convincingly, in the sense that they weren't like switching back and forth. He got in front of him and he stayed in front, has got to make Fabio a little bit worried about the rest of the season. It's not going to be a cakewalk. And so hopefully they brought something for him at the test, but knowing Yamaha, it's probably just odds and ends. It's not going to be anything or anything worth the type of power differential that they're facing with Ducati.
Yeah, but the big thing is the engine, and you can't develop the engine. So the most Yamaha can do, even if they do everything right from now on, is to make a better chassis around the engine to help to fix the rear grip issue. But you also have this issue with the engine, which is not going away, because you can't overtake Ducati or Honda or KTM or Suzuki or
Suzuki,
because you can't get close to them on the straight. And Fabio is braking like a motherfucker. And Frankie, for example, I feel like he has some issue to brake as late as Fabio. And I feel like Fabio is gaining a lot of the time in the braking zone, and the other Yamaha riders aren't capable of doing this. So when you are in the situation where you are stuck behind a rider, you're pretty much ruining your front tire, which was especially in Jerez a big issue. And Fabio, even if he could overtake Pecco, let's say he theoretically had a better pace than Pecco, if he was stuck behind Fabio, he would be ruining his front tire, and there's no chance of him winning the race. And you don't know how this develops over a race, if he falls back and the other riders are catching him, if he crashes or whatever. So he did the right thing, but it's a difficult situation if you aren't able to overtake you. As I said last week, you need to qualify in the front row, have a good start, bang out 5 laps when nobody can touch you, and then have a good pace until the end, that nobody who has maybe a better race pace at the end will catch up to you. And this is
it definitely shows the maturity, though. But yeah, like you're saying, that he shows the maturity of the champion with saying like, hey, 20 after the race, he was like saying, like I didn't have anything for Pecco. I tried a couple things, and so 20 points is better than 0 points. And that's a champion mentality. You know what I mean? That's the type of thing carrying, because like the best money Yamaha or Fabio ever spent was on that psychologist last year. That dude has really helped focus him, because if this was the Fabio from what's it called? Petronas, he would have thrown the race away. He would have thrown it down the track.
Or he would have melted under the difficulty of this situation, because in 2020 he was going to win the championship if he didn't fuck it up, but his mind was fucking with him, and he crumbled under the pressure. And now he takes the position as they come and rides them as best as he can, and not overrides them, which was Alex Rins' big problem in 2021. And Fabio isn't, pretty much, he is in the same situation, but he isn't doing remotely what Alex Rins did. So heads off to him. And I mean, if I'm Yamaha and I'm retaining Fabio, I might consider retaining Lynn Jarvis and Massimo, whatever his last name is. You know what I mean?
Rivola? No.
Marigali.
Massimo Marigali, yes.
Yeah. You know what I mean. And
I know what you know. There's so many Massimos. There's Massimo Rivola from Aprilia, and then Massimo Marigali.
And but if, let's say, Yamaha loses Fabio, I would fire the whole team, which is responsible pretty much for this shitty bike. If you aren't able to develop a bike which has the same issues as like Rossi and Vinales and Lorenzo pretty much pointed out, what are you doing?
I'm just wondering how many more championships could have Lorenzo or Rossi won if they had the rear grip sorted. I don't think 2015 would have been as close as it was if the rear grip was sorted back then, because even back then he was complaining a little bit about rear grip,
Yeah, but 2015 is probably the worst example, because that's the only year where Yamaha was really dominant. I mean, even last year Fabio was dominant, but Yamaha was 2015 so dominant that they had 2 riders with like 350 points. They could dream of this right now. The last time I can remember was 2009. So if you want to have the best bike on the grid, you need to put the horsepower into the bike, fix the rear grip issue without losing the rideability.
That's easier said than done, though, right?
Of course, it's easier said than done. But Suzuki figured it out, and Ducati figured it out the opposite way. They had the power. They need to add the rideability to the bike.
Rein it in a bit.
Yeah, and they did. They're winning in Jerez. Who would have thought?
That's what they needed to figure out. I mean, Ducati was like, hey, let's overpower the engine, and then we can always turn it down. Kind of like getting a fast rider to not crash, versus being like, it should be good enough. We'll just tweak the aero. It's like, no, man. Like, it's better to have too much. Like Winston Churchill once said, like, quantity has a quality all its own.
Yeah. And I have a question for you. Would you rather have a Yamaha-esque bike, which is super fast in the corners, but too slow on the straight? Or would you go the opposite way? Let's say a Ducati, which is strong on the straight and not so good on the corners. If you're a rider, which one would you choose?
There's so many factors that go along with that, right? Because if you have a rider like Lorenzo who was all corner speed, of course you say the corners. If you have somebody that breaks super hard like Marquez or Dovi used to on the Ducati, you say the front straight because they say that it's easier to make up. It's easier to go make up time in the fast part, which would be the main straight. But the main straight is normally connected with a bunch of turns, which is the problem, right? I would say, because that's like saying, like, would I rather have, say, my Ducati 748 track bike for the twisties or have a Hayabusa, which would crush it on the front straight? I would probably say I'd have to go with a bike with corner speed, believe it or not. At my last track day, there was a guy that was there on a brand new Panigale, and obviously that bike is much more powered than my 748. And yeah, on the front straight, I'd be going down, and then he would come putting right past me, but I would brake later than him going to the turn, or maybe going into, and then like by the third or fourth turn, I would pass him, make a little bit of gap, but then yeah, on the main straight, he would come chugging right by again. So I guess the real question is, what problem is easier to fix? Getting a bike that doesn't turn to turn, or adding horsepower to a bike? I'm a big Ducati fan, so it'd be hard for me to say not the Ducati. Plus, I like red, but I'd probably say the smart part of me, I think, says corner speed. What do you say?
I'd take the opposite bike. I would take the bike with more horsepower because it's easier to override problems in the corner, which you can, let's say you're a really good rider, you can override these problems. There's no way to override horsepower. If you pull off the gas and the thing doesn't move and everybody flies by, that's a shitty situation. You can't do anything about it. What do you want to do? Pull the gas harder? It's not possible. If you have like 200 horsepower, for example, you have 200 horsepower, and if everybody else has 230, there's nothing you can do about it. But if you have 230 and the other guy maybe in the corner is faster, you can see, okay, what is he doing? What can I do better to be faster in the corners? Like Marc Marquez, for example. I realized from the track that he likes to brake super deep into the corner and then swing the bike to the other side and then pull it right up and be straight on the gas. While Aleix on the Aprilia and Jack Miller on the Ducati were much smoother through the corners, and Marcus was just wrestling with the thing. And those are the things you can control. You can say, okay, I need to do this better, I need to do this better.
Oh, I see.
There's no way that you can accelerate faster if you have limited horsepower. You know what I mean?
That's a very good point. That's a good point. When you put it that way, that is a good point. But by that rationale, Ducati should have won every championship for the last like 3 or 4 years. They've had the most powerful bike, and they haven't.
Yeah,
but Yamaha sucks, but it's the reigning championship winning bike. Right now the Yamaha sucks, and they're leading the Riders' Championship.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So there's something to be said. I think both things have merit, and obviously in the perfect world, you'd want both, which is why I think Aleix and Aprilia are in a really good spot, because there seems like their bike is probably the most complete bike on the track right now.
Yeah, of course, you want everything, but if it wasn't for Marc Marquez, Dovi would have won the championship like 3 times, and Yamaha was nowhere to be found in these years. And let's forget Ducati, for example, which is just an example for having a good straight line speed and bad cornering, quote unquote.
Even though I think they fixed a lot of that.
Yeah,
I think they have fixed a lot of that.
This is just a metaphor.
Yeah.
But if you are in front with a bike with more horsepower, it's much easier to defend than being in front with a bike with less horsepower. It's easier to make yourself a little bit wide, brake a little bit more on the inside, that nobody can overtake you as easy. Like Aleix, he was so much faster than Jack Miller and Marc Marquez, but he couldn't get past. So the best bike doesn't help you at all if you can't get past the other riders. So
Yeah, because the amount of gap he made in front of Miller as soon as he got past both of them, it was huge. Like, I don't think that he had anything for the other two guys, even if let's say all three of them had gotten clean away at the beginning. I don't think that he had anything for Pecco or Fabio that day. He would have finished third, but maybe a little bit closer to the front group, but he would have ridden by himself in third, you know what I mean? And then everybody will spin behind. But I mean, it was, once he got past, you could see that he was being held up. And that double pass that he pulled on both of them was actually really cool.
Yeah.
It got overshadowed by Mark's save or whatever, but that was a ballsy ass move. He was like, see you later, guys, and just went right by both of them. That was really cool.
But to be honest, he was extremely lucky that Marcus had this save in the exact moment that Jack Miller was overtaking Jack Miller. So what if Marcus had this save like a lap earlier? Wouldn't have benefited, Aleix wouldn't have benefited at all. And there's a quick point I want to make towards Marcus. The fact that he's starting to save these things again is a positive sign if you're a Marcus fan, because he was not having the confidence in the front to even pull off these saves. We didn't see those like in quite a while, and that he's able to do it is, I believe, a good sign.
I'll believe it when I see it on the right-hand turn, not on the left-hand turn.
Yeah, that's the big one.
Yeah,
that's the big
so. But you want to talk about the winner of this past weekend's race, Ducati? My boy Pecco is back in business. What are your thoughts on Pecco? Does all the bikes sound a little different? The Ducatis were always considered to be the best sounding bike on the grid. Now on the broadcast, you're always hearing the commentators talk and stuff, but in real life, just as a side note, what bike, in your opinion, sounds the best?
This is a difficult question, because first of all, I wear earplugs, and they're so similar. Because first of all, you can't be sitting there without earplugs. Even the Moto3 bikes, they're so incredibly loud. You wouldn't
ear piercing too. The Moto3 bikes very high pitched. They go right through.
Yeah. And there was a situation where I met Colin, because he had this amazing little gift where he signed and Eddie O'Shea signed.
Colin Edwards?
Visors. Huh?
Was that Colin Edwards?
No, it's Colin Weyer from the from the Red Rookies Cup. Yeah, he's following me. We've been texting a couple of times, and he brought me this little piece, which I extremely appreciate. Such a nice,
beautiful.
Yeah. So he texted me like, yeah, I have a gift for you. So I was like, what the fuck? And I said, yeah, I'm here in turn 15. And he was like, oh, that's a long way. I said, okay, we can meet at the bridge, because after the last corner, there's a bridge going from the paddock to the track. And we talked like there for 5 minutes, because he had to go afterwards, because obviously he had to race. And a race which he finished third. So congratulations to him.
Nice podium place. Good job.
He's doing well. Last season he was like a good rider at the front, but there was a little bit missing. And of course, if you're competing with Danny Olgado and Mojera and David Alonso, they're fast, and now he won a race. He's developing in the right direction, and I can see him being in the championship as well. But to the question, and so when I was standing there with Colin, I pulled my earplugs out to talk with him, and it was like the last 3 minutes of the Moto2 free practice 3. It was Saturday in the morning, and oh my god, these things are so fucking loud. You forget it when you have the earplugs in, because it's a nice sound, and you hear it, but it's different when they're blowing your fucking ears off. And but to your question, honestly, I don't know.
Hard to tell.
And I didn't pay any attention to which bike I think sounds best, but I believe it would be a V4, but which one? I don't know. KTM used to have the Screamer engine,
Mm-hmm.
uh, which have a different, I don't know the English term, the way the spark ignites the engine there.
Yeah,
I don't know.
firing order.
Yeah, the firing order. Yeah, this one. They have a like 2 at a time, and the Big Bang they have a asymmetric one, I believe, where they have for each cylinder a specific time where they ignite. So they're sounding a lot different than the Screamer, and I believe KTM abdomined the Screamer engine. But yeah, I would say it's a V4, but which one, I don't know.
Which one? Yeah.
I will be in Austria, so I will, if I remember, I will pay attention to it.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So Pecco got away at the entire race was won in the first 100 yards. Obviously, if Pecco had not gotten in front of Fabio, I think the end of the race would have been completely different. He knew that the race was basically going to be won or lost going into turn 1, and he got in front. He was able to defend his line in turn 2, and then after that, he didn't make a single mistake. He never really made a huge gap and was able to get away. You could see him pull a little bit of a gap down the front straight, but then of course Fabio would get him back on the brakes a little bit, and he just wasn't making any mistakes. It wasn't the most exciting race. I mean, races like this are never the most exciting. It's exciting in a different way.
Yeah.
And watching watching him win at a racetrack where they struggled last year at one of Fabio's best tracks.
Last year they won. They had a Ducati one too.
I know, but he struggled over the weekend, and then they won because Fabio got that arm pump and he fell back. Jack Miller ended up winning. This was a win fair and square. And so that was fantastic. But of course, you can't talk about that without talking about the rest of the Ducatis. I wrote Miller didn't wreck. He did do a good job of keeping Marquez in the lace from ever getting into the fight, really involved with the other 2 guys up at the front. So if his job was to keep Pecco from being bothered by anybody but Fabio, he did a good job of that. Do you want to talk about all of them together or one of them at a time?
No, first of all, I would like to talk about Pecco, because if we are talking about 8 riders at the time, this will.
Well, no, I don't talk about all 8, but yes.
But Pecco, he was doing his best Jorge Lorenzo impression. That's what he does. He gets in front and he blanks out these lap times and nobody catches him. And I agree kind of with your point there, but I believe it would be easier for Pecco if Fabio was in front to overtake him and win the race than vice versa.
Even if it meant cooking his front tire behind Yamaha.
But I don't believe that he would be cooking it as much, because he would get past him easier. And he was pulling like this 7/10 gap, and I believe this was the comfortable gap also for Fabio to keep his front tire as fresh as possible. But regarding Jack Miller, you saw yesterday the difference between Jack Miller and Pecco Bagnaia. You saw why Ducati probably will replace Miller with Martin. That is, on a good day, Pecco is unbeatable. On a good day, Jack Miller is competing for the podium. And there were like a 10-second gap between the first 2 guys and the Marquez Miller duo.
Yeah.
And it's just not explainable other than Pecco is simply the better rider.
Oh, of course.
Miller did good, yes, but that's his ceiling, and Pecco's ceiling is world champion. That's
absolutely.
If Pecco gets his shit together over a whole season, there's nobody beating him on this bike. And even now, if he goes on a run, he can probably win Le Mans. He can probably win Mugello, and he can probably win in Barcelona.
Austria for sure.
Yeah, Austria later on, but those are the next 3 races. So, and then we will go to Assen, where the Yamaha is obviously faster. But if he wins those 3 races, we will have a totally different conversation about the championship, because even if Fabio finishes second in every race, what I don't believe, he will be only down like 15 or 18 points. So yeah.
Yeah, no, Pecco's doing good, and Miller didn't wreck, but Martin did, and this is his 4th DNF out of 6 races. It's not, the hype around Jorge Martin. I mean, okay, during Q1, Q2, Martin is all anybody talks about, but the hype with him and he's a shoe-in for the factory seat. People aren't talking as much about that as it probably still going to happen, probably, but I mean, 4 DNFs out of 6 races is not the season. I think most people were expecting him to be there or thereabouts with the title, not necessarily winning, but really being a thorn in everyone's side as far as, if anything, being a good tail gunner for Pecco, just like Miller is support for Pecco, right? But you can't help your team or your manufacturer out from the gravel.
Yeah.
But Bastianini finished 8th, which was not bad. I think that Martin's factory team chances are waning. Nothing's on pen and paper yet. He keeps doing this nonsense. I could totally see them being like, maybe one more year Pramac is good for you. We're going to move Bestia up to be either your teammate, or we're moving Bestia directly up to the factory, especially if Bastianini gets another win or podium this season. I mean, dude's already won 2 races. What has Martin done? He's finished 2 races, but that's about it.
He won last season, and I think it's like a personal preference thing. If you're a team manager, let's say you're Ducati, would you rather have a rider like Jorge Martin, who is super fast but crashes a lot? Like, that's his problem he has to fix. Or would you rather have a rider like Enea Bastianini, who maybe isn't as fast as a Jorge Martin at his best, but he's much more consistent, and you need to step up the speed? So, and then also there's this preference thing. Would you like to have 2 top dogs in your team, like Jorge Lorenzo and Valentino Rossi? Or would you like to have like 1 top dog and 1 supporter, like Valentino Rossi and Colin Edwards? That's also a thing. You have to decide if you're Ducati, but I believe that Jorge Martin has proven that he is incredibly fast if he can get it together. And I believe it's easier to fix this problem than... I don't want to criticize Enea Bastianini in any way. Don't get me wrong here. I'm just saying that if both are on their absolute best, Jorge Martin is faster, but he isn't as consistent as Enea Bastianini is. And regarding Enea Bastianini, if you're not moving him to the factory, I would keep him at Gresini, because he seems to be very happy. It seems to be a perfect place for him, where he feels like home, and no need to put him to Pramac. If you want to give him a factory bike, just send the factory bike to Gresini and let him be there. But I would still say that Jorge Martin is the pick to go for the factory team.
I know, but then tell me, who would you rather have, Alex Rins or John Mir? Because that's exactly the same thing. John Mir was not necessarily faster, but he was fast enough and consistent enough to win the title. Alex Rins may be faster, but he spent half of this last season in the gravel. You know what I mean? So I guess the aim. Now I totally understand the whole having 2 top dogs in your garage. That can be a challenge. But I don't think the new generation sees themselves as the top or the second. I think Jack Miller is probably the last of the old guard. He's considered, like, it's funny. Part of me always keeps thinking that Jack Miller is like a young new rider. You forget that he's been in GP for a long time. He's the last of the old breed that would even think of like, oh yeah, I'm the second rider. That's the number 1 rider. If Martin or Bastianini went, they're like, yo, you try to win, and I'm gonna try to beat you. That's just how it is. Yeah. That, and not to say like kids these days, they got no respect. I just don't think that mentality. I think that's an old mentality that's gonna die with Jack Miller. I think he's probably the last of the dudes that would probably feel that way. I don't think Alex Rins thinks of himself as the second rider compared to Joan Mir, even though Mir has a championship under his belt. And so consistency, it can be nice. You know what I mean? Honestly, if I had to choose, but my biggest fear about choosing Bastianini over Martin would be that someone else, if Martin went somewhere else, which I know is a weird thing to say, but I would probably rather have Bastianini and worry about, okay, dang, Martin got signed to Repsol. Oh, he's getting pole position every weekend or whatever, because I know that half the time he's going to end up in the gravel, so it'll be fine, you know?
To answer
more than half the time so far. Two-thirds of the time, 2/3 of the season, he's wrecked out.
Yeah. To answer your question regarding Joan Mir and Alex Rins, I would prefer Alex Rins because this season showed if you can manage to stay on the bike, the faster rider is the better rider. And this is the easier problem to fix. I'm not saying it's easier.
Yeah.
No,
the whole make difficult. The fast guy not crash rather than make a slow guy.
Yeah.
But Bastianini is not slow. He's gone fast enough to win 2 races this season.
Of course. I'm just saying that if Jorge Martin is at his absolute best, he's beating Enea Bastianini at his absolute best. That's just my opinion because Jorge Martin is a hell of a rider, and he is on one lap super fast
100%.
and manages to keep the speed over one race. We seen what can happen, which is nobody can touch him, like in Austria, for example, last year.
True. But I think that track is everything okay?
Oh. Yeah, I think something just fell down in my room. I don't know what it was, but
your house is haunted.
Yeah.
But remember, that's a very weird track with very little tire wear because everything is in straights. When he got pole position, but then at the end, Zarco came and beat him. Was it at Qatar 2? I think that one time. Enea does a better job. He has more racecraft. He knows how to manage his tires better.
Yeah,
that's probably one of the reasons why Martin ends up in the gravel. Yeah, sure, he won in Austria, but Austria in all 4 of its turns? You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to really save the tires when you're just going straight.
Yeah, that's true. But the Alex Rins and Joan Mir comparison, I feel like works pretty good because if you give Alex Rins the tools, or let's say Jorge Martin the tools to stay on the bike and be fast, it's easier to fix this problem than to fix make Joan Mir fast all of a sudden. Joan Mir won't qualify on pole, and Joan Mir won't get in front and get away from everybody else. This is pretty much a fact. So he hasn't.
Which is funny because that's one of the things I liked about watching Joan Mir race was because he almost reminded me of Rossi in that way. Rossi was never really a great qualifier, but that meant you got to see him fight through the pack and come up to the front, which was always more exciting than seeing Marquez or Lorenzo run off at the beginning of the race. I mean, even Valentino Rossi, I've seen him do that one race, and I think it was 2015 Jerez, I think, or something, or where he just was in the front and he led from the front and he won, and it was like the only time in his entire career that he's done that. And so seeing Mir come in through the pack was always sort of fun to see him do that, but I don't know if it's as fun when you're putting millions of dollars of your budget into seeing your guy win. At that point, the most boring race is the best one for you, where the guy is winning by 15 seconds and he doesn't have to worry about anything.
First of all, regarding Rossi, it was 2016 in Jerez, where he just was going away. And into the stadium section, Jorge Lorenzo launched a very optimistic overtake where Rossi got him right back on the cutback lane. So, regarding this one. And the next part is Ducati or Suzuki or everybody else. Or Suzuki, not anymore. They are not in the entertainment business. MotoGP is in the entertainment business, but Ducati is not. So Ducati wants to have the best bike, and I feel like from pure talent that Jorge Martin is stronger than Enea Bastianini, and if he can fix this, which he's still in his 2nd season, so give him a little bit of time. Maybe next year it will look completely different. Like Pecco needed 2 seasons to be good as well, so why not? And I would take Jorge Martin for the factory seat. But regarding Jorge Martin, I have a funny story from the race because
Okay.
once upon a time I posted the MotoGP hub memes where I put the MotoGP riders in Pornhub categories. And,
Nice. Oh, I remember that one. Yeah.
yeah, I put Jorge Martin into popular with women. And after he crashed, he picked up the bike and rode at the back. And there was one woman on the grandstand. Every time he passed, she was like, "Bravo, Jorge." Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny. I mean, would you take him over Bastianini, even though Bastianini looks like he's built like a boxer and probably is like strong as hell, and Martin's bones are made out of like chalk?
Yeah, this is the issue with Martin. If he crashes seriously, he got injured. He got injured in 2018 when he won the Moto3 championship, which almost costed him. I can't remember if he was significantly injured in Moto2, but obviously last year he was significantly injured. And this is, yeah, but if you solve the crashing problem, you solve this problem as well. So
yeah, fair enough.
you have to solve the crashing one way or another, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Let's see who. So we did Pecco, Quartararo, Spargo, Marquez, Miller, Mir, Nakagami, Bastianini. Bezecchi is just another Ducati rider, of course, but he's doing well.
Yeah, he's the top rookie. He's very, very impressive.
He's doing great. I mean, he finished ahead of Binder, Paul Espargaro on the Repsol, Miguel Oliveira, Alex Marquez. Of course, is it even worth talking about Maverick Vinales? Like that's like being competitive is not my riding style. Being competitive is not his riding style. Everything is like, oh, that's not my riding style. I'm waiting for a bike that fits my riding style. It's like, dude, like for real?
Yeah,
and like maybe you would do better on a Yamaha.
Yeah, and Aprilia losing the concession points is not good for Maverick.
It is not, but it is a beautiful, beautiful achievement for Aprilia. A beautiful achievement and very impressive and, you know, well-deserved and everything like that. But yeah, it's not good for Maverick. Not at all.
And
Luca Marini was nowhere.
Yeah,
and I think, sorry, go ahead.
I would like to talk a little bit about Marco Bezzecchi because he's very impressive. And on the previous show, I picked him as my Rookie of the Year. You know, I'm a huge Remy Gardner fan, but my point I was making was pretty much that he is on a bike which is proven to be successful. The KTM isn't or wasn't. And the GP21 is the best fully developed bike I've ever seen because it works everywhere and on a level maybe that Honda was in 2001 when they just introduced the MotoGP class. You know, they are maybe not this dominant, but the Ducati GP21 last season, it was
good bike.
Motherfucker. It was perfect in any track. And he's riding a fully developed bike. He doesn't have to think about developing the bike.
Put gas in it and go.
Yeah, just learn the MotoGP class. And he is doing very, very good. And that's pretty much what my point was, that I thought Marco Bezzecchi is the Rookie of the Year. And so far, he's proven right. We don't know what's up with the KTM because everybody seems to struggle on the thing. And I feel sorry for Remy, and also I feel sorry for Raul that they aren't in this situation where they have a bike which works, where they don't have to think about developing or solving problems too much. Just get accustomed to the class, get experience in there, and the results will come. Like pretty much also Darren Binder, he has a developed bike which is historically very good for rookies, and the KTM is just, even the factory riders don't understand what's going on with the thing. So it's a tough situation to be in, but
I think they keep throwing parts at it. I think one of the things with Ducati was that, you know, Pecco said, hey, we found something last time, and between last race and this race, we didn't do really anything to it. We didn't put any parts on it. We didn't take anything off. We didn't fuss with it. I finally decided that instead of trying to adjust the bike I'm just going to get it close, and then I'm going to adjust myself to the bike, which is great. I feel bad for Remy and Raul because, I mean, of course, you know, Raul made himself very unsympathetic of a character with his comments after the championship last season. But, dude is still, again, like we talked about last time, these are kids. They're young and they have a tough job on the world stage and being saddled with that bike. And I mean, of course, Rule's been out injured. They said he might even miss the next race, I think. It's been a really tough time. But yeah, out of those guys, I mean, Bezzecchi quietly seems to be doing really, really well. I mean, every once in a while you hear like, oh, he's gone off or maybe Bezzecchi wrecked, but overall, he's doing a really, really great job. And yeah, he's lucky to have gotten that bike. And I think Valentino Rossi made a good decision going with the Ducatis versus either. I mean, if everybody was like, oh, go with Suzuki's, and he had a conversation with them, but what would he have been there now if Suzuki had pulled out? He would have to go hat in hand to one of the other manufacturers and get a shit deal, and so I'm glad they went with Ducati, and it seems to be working out really well. I mean, his brother was nowhere this past race, but I mean, Luca Marini, he's going to pull an, unless he starts really producing, he's going to be kind of pulling an Alex Marquez situation, I think, by next year or something like that. It's like he really has to do something, because being Valentino Rossi's brother is only going to work for so long before maybe even Valentino Rossi wants to replace him with somebody that's going to, be more of a factor.
Yeah, but I believe it's not the right decision to put him on the GP22. It's still his second year.
No, absolutely.
He should have been on the GP21. And I mean, it sounds good. It sounds all fancy. Yeah, I'm a factory rider. I have this year's bike. But if you think about it, you as a young rider, you want a fully developed bike where you just can improve your craft and improve to get accustomed to the MotoGP class, because it's still his second season. There's no way to have a GP22 where you have to develop the bike while still learning the class. You can do this when you're like a Pecco who has been there for like 3 years before he or 2 years. It should be 19, 20, and 21 he went to the factory, so it was his third year. So it's so different, and you need to have this time as a rookie to just get there, and then you can be a factory rider.
He would have been served better by being on a 21. I agree 100%, where it's like, dude, just go race, learn the vibe, learn what you're doing, and then we'll put you on the newest bike next time or whatever. I 100% agree. It'd be like, it's like, yo, it's your first track day in a car, cool, we're gonna put you in the Miata, and next time you come by, we'll put you in the Dodge Viper. You know what I mean? It's like the Dodge Viper sounds great, but you're going to learn more in the Miata than in the Dodge Viper at your first track day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and that Miata is nothing to scoff about. I mean, like the GP21, as you said, was a brilliant bike. I mean, it's won 2 races this season already.
Yeah.
Think about it. The GP22 just won its first race.
Yeah.
So
it's pretty much the same with my BMW. I bought the BMW as a track tool for the Nordschleife, for the Nürburgring. And
nice.
I have a E36 328, which is the 2.8 liter machine, has like 200 horsepower, a little bit under, I believe it's 194, but it's a cheap track tool. I could buy an M3 or a Porsche or whatever, but
sure.
You have to be realistic that when you buy these things, you won't be able to really ride a Porsche to its limits. So learn the BMW. It's a cheap one. It's reliable. Everything's good. And later on, maybe I will buy someday an M3, but I don't need to start on an M3.
Oh, absolutely. No, I mean, the same thing. That's why I bought a 748. Now, of course, recently with the pandemic and everything, the value of that has gone up. Now it's becoming a collector bike. When I bought it because it was cheap. It was mostly analog in the sense that something's not working, just take the part off and put a new part on, or fix the old one. It's not electronic or anything. And I was like, it would suck. You never want to wreck. But if I wreck, whatever. I have track plastics on it. All of the stock OEM panels, which are not even available from Ducati anymore, are fresh and in mint condition in storage, whatever. So I was like, whatever, if something happens, because I could go buy a V4S today, but there's no way I'm pushing that bike as hard as I am the 748, because I really don't want to wreck a V4S Panigale.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That would hurt.
Yeah.
The physical hurt would be second to the wallet hurt, of something like that. And so, and plus you learn more on something that, like, the 748 is not the fastest bike in the world. It's fast enough for me. I'm probably not even riding it at its full potential. If I can ride the 748 at its full potential, I should be at least doing super stock in Moto America or something like that. You know what I mean? And so the bike is still better than I am. But the V4S, I mean, you're going to be afraid to pull the throttle, like you twist the throttle. I mean, you're talking about 200 plus horsepower. That's not something to joke. I mean, I sold my 1098 Superbike to get the 748 because I wanted something less powerful for the track. And then I have my Sport Classic, which is my street bike. So, so I completely agree. And I think he would have been served better by GP21, which all you had to do is, okay, well, put in a couple clicks in the front, take a click out in the back, throw some gas, go, versus like, which aero package do you like? That's too much for somebody of his level,
Yeah.
So.
And talking about slower bikes, if Celestino Vietti wins the championship this year, which got a little bit more unlikely by his recent performances.
Yeah.
Let's say he does. I would,
because last week was a gift.
Yeah,
a giant, beautiful gift. Yeah.
And if I'm Ducati, I would put him at Pramac alongside Frankie, because if I'm Frankie, I would like to head the fuck out of Yamaha and like put Joan Zarco and Jack Miller in there to experienced rider. They can develop the bike. They're not going to win a championship, so leave the Yamaha to them. But yeah, Celestino Vietti, not impressive, not at all. I mean, he was okay, but the Moto2 race in general was a bit boring, but he lost a lot of his pace towards the end where Marcel Schröter overtook him, which shouldn't happen, because Celestino Vietti should be here and Marcel Schröter should be here, And even if you're not a championship contender, you just want to be a top guy, this can't happen that you lose so much pace at the end. And yeah, Ayogura did good. Congratulations to him, but nothing.
Again, not the most exciting race, but a very convincing victory in good weather from the, he got in the lead in turn one and never looked back. I mean, it was a great and historic win too. I mean, like first win by a Japanese rider in a long, long time.
Yeah, it surprised me because I thought he won in Moto3, but he actually didn't. It was his first race win in general since the Rookies Cup, I believe, or the Junior GP, I don't know. But nothing spectacular here, just proves he's a good rider. And if he fixes his qualifying, he can be competitive, because
he has the right passport. Yes.
Yeah, and that's his Achilles heel. But I want to talk about Aaron Canet, because what he did was beyond impressive. Not his race in itself, but if you consider that he had surgery on his hand like 5 days ago or whatever.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy. I want to know on which painkillers he's on.
For real,
I want those too.
I know. I mean, Pecco was saying the same thing. They use like, oh my gosh, the Clinic Mobile has some really good painkillers, and then he just smiled, this weird smile. So I wonder what it is that they give these guys, that it has to be something local. It has to be something that's injected. I don't think that they can give them something in their mouth that goes over the whole body, because it would affect your sort of senses, I suppose. But an amazing race. I wouldn't say it's at the same level as like Lorenzo at in Germany when he, when he crashed and came back,
It was in Assen where he broke his collarbone.
Assen, when he broke his collarbone, came back and raced. But a very close one. I think it was very, very good. And obviously has a huge pain threshold if you look at his full body tattoos, which is really, he's a cool dude in his own way. I mean, he doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
But unbelievably amazing ride by him as well.
Yeah,
and just to mention Celestino, I mean, I think he's in the VR46 squad. So I think if anything, he would get pushed up to the VR46 MotoGP squad. I would assume that would be the logical step.
But who do you replace? Do you want, if you're Valentino Rossi, would you fire your brother, or would you fire the rookie who is doing very well, who is also in your academy? The better version would be to put him on a Ducati, because if I'm Ducati, I want an Italian rider on my bike. And I
Of
also
course.
would like to have Frankie on my bike, because Frankie is a very, very, very good rider. People tend to forget what Frankie used to do when he had a good bike underneath him. He was dominating races in 2020 on a satellite Yamaha. He was destroying the field in Moto2. It's crazy. He was just unfortunate that he had so many bad bikes. He had the Honda in his rookie season, and he has the Yamaha now. But if everything works for Frankie and he has a good bike underneath him, he is very, very, very good.
Yeah. I mean, do you think that again, with the injury, like, do you think that he's the same rider before the injury? I mean, that injury is like, and you wouldn't think of that, a knee injury. Like, if he was a soccer player, you'd be like, all right, bro, blown out ACL, you're done. But, and obviously it's a very physical sport, even motorcycle racing, but I'm surprised at how much it's affecting his riding, the messed up knee.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he needs to go to Panama and put some stem cells in the knee, but I don't know. Would be interesting to know regarding the painkillers. I talked with Remy about this because he took some painkillers in the MotoGP test, and he pretty much said, yeah, I threw him in and I was half of my face. So it was a big bag of drugs, he said, that the doctor pulled out. You can watch the clip on my Instagram, BadMotoGP podcast. I pretty much had some reels of it and should be in there, if I remember correctly. And yeah, basically it's something you take in, but I believe there are different painkillers, maybe some like injections, some like pills to swallow, I don't know. But nevertheless, what Aaron Canet did was supremely impressive. And those are the kind of performances that defy your championship. Aaron Canet basically has this big of balls right now because he's this confident, while Celestino Vietti probably, I don't know, thinks like, damn, this dude smoked me with a broken hand. I don't get to grips with the bike right now. I don't know what's happening. I don't want to say he's pulling a Lorenzo Baldassari, but he is a little bit on the downside in the last two races, and he needs to go back up again. And yeah, but nothing really happened in Moto2 except Pedro. He crashed, unfortunately, in the second lap, I believe. And we have the Fermin Aldeguer and Jake Dixon incident.
Yeah.
But Pedro, that
was very ambitious by Jake Dixon.
Yeah. But regarding Pedro, he took the inside line, and Fermin Aldeguer pretty much was on the outside. They kind of touched, and he crashed. These things happen, but I believe it was good that he picked up the bike and rode until the until the finish of the race. And first of all, it was like a test for him now, because he just had free track in front of him and could do whatever he wanted. And he chose violence, and he caught up to Antonelli, and I believe it was Sean Dillon Kelly or Cameron Bobier, I believe, one of the American team riders. I can't remember which one. And he was smoking them. It was like Alex Rins and Remy and Lorenzo Savadori. It was so much faster. It was incredible. So yeah, just get to grips with the bike. He's still a rookie. These things happen. It's valuable. Yeah, it's valuable to have time on the bike. And as you said earlier, you need to get accustomed to the Moto2 bikes, because they take much more maturity to ride them. Source Remy Gardner. And he just has to learn it. And he's in a perfect team. I wouldn't want to be in a different team, because if you're in Moto2, you want to be at Red Bull KTM Ayo, you want to be at Mark VDS or Valentino Rossi or Cito Pons. That's pretty much the teams you want to be.
Those are the four manufacturers teams of
those are the big boys. And he's very, very, very good. He's just doing rookie mistakes. It is what it is, but the speed is there, the talent is there. And if he works into the right direction, which I believe they will, he will compete for victories, maybe later this season, but for a fact next season.
Yeah, if he can win a race or be really close to winning a race before the end of the season, then I would put my whole I would put a giant chunk of money on him winning the championship next season.
Yeah, bet the
Easy.
house.
Yeah. And
Sorry, babe.
but
Sorry,
So,
babe. We have to move out. I bet the house on Pedro.
See, what had happened was, so Moto2 and MotoGP, sort of a similar sort of thing, somebody running away at the front. And then of course, like Moto3 is always the most exciting racing of the weekend. But it's always the most entertaining. Obviously, Guevara's last second was very picking people's pocket was unbelievable. That's the best thing about Moto3 is that you really, really don't know who's going to win until literally the last turn. So in front of Guevara, Sergio Garcia, and then Jaume Masia. You kind of feel bad for Dennis Onku, but then you remember that Safaglu is his manager, and then you don't feel so bad. Kenan Safaglu is such a weirdo, dude. But overall, it was very exciting. And I mean, Moto3 is always exciting. So, but any thoughts on that?
Yeah, the race was incredible, and it was kind of weird because Guevara and Garcia, they pulled a gap and they were dragging Jaume Masia alongside with him and Diogo Moreira. But Jaume Masia, it seemed like he knew he didn't have the pace to run in front and run away from the boys. So he overtook them and slowed the whole group down. It felt like in order to stay in the group,
Yeah.
And that led to Dennis Öncü and Javier Tigas and even Sasaki and those boys to catch up. And but he did his race. He finished on the podium. So shout out to Jaume for this. And regarding Dennis Öncü, I mean, he is a very aggressive rider. But it seems like he doesn't have the speed to be there right in front, and the famous Casey Stoner quote, your ambition over
your ambition outweighed your talent.
Outweighed your talent. This way he phrased it. I feel like this suits very good to Dennis Öncü, but he seems to get his act a little bit more together, which is good for him. But it seems like he doesn't have quite the speed. He is very fast, yes, but not like top tier fast, not like Izan Guevara or like Sergio Garcia. But he was good. And I feel like watching the last corner, you saw him going into the corner very, very much on the inside, pretty much as much of the inside as possible. And this, I know this, everybody who rode a motorcycle or even a car knows, if you go from the outside, you can be faster than from the inside. And Pedro last year, he did a miracle because he was so far on the inside that nobody was able to overtake him. Yet he was able to brake so damn late that everybody else didn't know what was about to hit them. And Dennis Öncü kind of wanted to force it and wiped everybody out. And it felt like Dennis wanted to do like the same thing as Pedro. He monkey see, monkey do, He saw Pedro do this last year, but unfortunately he didn't have quite the talent Pedro has, or the skill Pedro has to pull this move up. So he was on the inside, and Guevara, he probably was like, fuck it, I'll brake later than you, and on the outside, and he overtook like two dudes on the outside, which was the only way to overtake Öncü, because on the inside you couldn't overtake him, otherwise it would have gone completely wrong. So he took
almost
the
too
outside.
Protective of a line.
He took the outside. He was lucky that nobody crashed, because it could have happened that somebody lost the front and wiped him out. But that's a risk you have to take, especially in Moto3. So he rode the last corner to absolute perfection, and this move is equally as impressive as Pedro's last year, like the opposite way. And I'm very happy for him that he finally got his first real race win, because America last year doesn't count in my book.
Yeah, somebody said really cool. It's like he pulled a Lorenzo turn with Lorenzo in the stands.
Yeah.
Going around the outside, and very interesting. Gas 1-2. Who would have thought?
Yeah,
you know?
but they have the best two riders, and Dennis Foggia was nowhere to be found. He was going backwards the entire time, and you can't claim to be a title challenger and have those kind of performances. This is exactly what costed him last year the title, that he had these up and down performances while Pedro was getting like a 9th place here, an eighth place there. And if he was in front, he was in front. But Pedro pretty much had one mistake, which was Aragon. And Dennis Foggia had like a couple of bad races, especially at the beginning of the season. And he kind of repeats it. This can't happen with guys like Guevara and Garcia being constantly at the front, you know.
Yeah.
But it seemed like Honda had some major issue.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
But so Le Mans next, right?
Yeah, in 2 weeks, which will be interesting again, because in Moto3, I've heard that the KTM is better in the first gears, like acceleration wise, and the Honda is better in the later gears, which goes to high-end top speed, which explains why Andrea Minio was unbeatable in Qatar, for example, on the straight, and Sergio Garcia could not overtake him. But in a track like Jerez, where you don't have these long straights, or in a track like Le Mans, where you don't have them either, it's probably easier for the KTM. I don't know how they feel in the corner and on the braking, but yeah, Scott Ogden.
Well, the weather is always so iffy in Le Mans.
Yeah,
as
Le
well,
Mans is a wild card.
So weather is going to be if it rains, it could be anybody's race. If it's dry, then we have our main protagonists in all 3 classes. So
yeah,
it'll be very interesting to see if Pecco can keep up his form, and and everybody else. So we'll see.
I want to give a quick shout out to Scott Ogden for being the top Honda as a rookie. We joked a little bit about it. He said pretty much that he didn't have the rear wheel cover at the first races, that this was the reason why he isn't at the front. And now he got it, and he's the top Honda. So shout out to him. And yeah, just to wrap this up, I can totally recommend to everybody to go on a race in Spain. It's very, very organized. I would still prefer Valencia, because you can see everything. We were at turn 6 last year, and except from the main straight and the last corner, you can see the whole track, which was amazing. Jerez also very, very nice track to be in, especially the last corner. I can recommend it there. And yeah, Catalonia is next on the bucket list.
Nice.
And
very,
Mugello.
very cool.
And
little Mugello. Yeah, that's on my list as well. So
yeah.
I'm gonna do the whole thing. Do the track. Gonna go do the Bologna Ducati factory tour. Everything. It's gonna be good times.
Which is also beautiful. I've been to Rimini and last year for the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, and we went on our way home to Bologna and watched or visited the Ducati Museum. It's beautiful, especially if you like Ducati and have a little bit, yeah, you get a little bit of a boner for history. And, the Ducati Museum is perfect for you. Unfortunately, we didn't have the guide with us, but it is what it is. I can totally recommend Italy, Rimini, Bologna, and yeah, if you're there, go visit Tavuglia. It's so beautiful as well. Coreano, where Marco Simoncelli is from, such a beautiful place on the earth, you know. Because the landscape.
Well, you have to almost make a pilgrimage for that. So if I go once I go to Italy, then we're gonna hit up all the spots.
Yeah, I can totally recommend to take like a week or 2 and get everything there. You know, you really don't want to rush these things. Have the race weekend, have Coreano, have Tavuglia, have like Cattolica, have all those. San Marino you can visit. It's so beautiful up there, and I can recommend to everybody to go there one time. Maybe Mugello I will be next year, which is definitely on the plan, because this year it collides with the 24 hours of the Nürburgring, and I'll be there. So
well, you have to let me know. Maybe we'll have to meet up in person. That'll be fun.
Sure.
We'll do the Zoom in person. That'll be good times.
sit right next to each other and Zoom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like just on the other side of the room. Yeah.
But just in general, if you're in Europe, give me a heads up and maybe we can make something work, because it's pretty much a 2-hour flight to go to Spain. It's London is around the corner. Italy is around the corner. I'm pretty much in the center, you know.
Sounds good, man. Yeah, I was just in England, but I think for work I may end up going to France soon, and then hopefully to Germany as well. So we'll see.
Yeah, so give me a heads up. What do you do in France and Germany for work?
Well, I have I'm in education, so I teach for Art and Co. But I also have family in Paris and in London and stuff. So I visit them. I just came back from England because I was visiting my in-laws in Manchester. So I have a little bit of everywhere. So
yeah, nice. Manchester's cool. I've been there with my school a couple of years ago. And also Paris is like when you hop into the train in Cologne, you're in 3 hours in Paris. It's beautiful.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Cologne, that's where Michael Schumacher was from.
Yeah, not kinda. Yeah, he's from
yeah, you
Kerpen.
always said.
Yeah, he's from Kerpen, which is like a couple kilometers outside. But there's this Michael Schumacher kart track where I've been like a couple of weeks ago. Can recommend as well. It's nice. And if you are here, go to the Nordschleife as well, because it's the most beautiful track on earth.
100%.
Yeah, they have the tourist drive, so get yourself a car and bang over the Nordschleife.
That'll be awesome. I've done it enough times on Gran Turismo that I think I have most of the turns run right.
Yeah,
good time.
But
thank you so much for Leo for having me on again. I really appreciate our little chats and stuff like that, and then it gets me to watch a Moto 2 and Moto 3 with a little bit more with a little bit more attention. So thank you so much for having me on again. It's always such a good time.
Yeah, thank you for doing this again. And next episode will be in 2 weeks in Le Mans, I believe. So goodbye, everybody. See ya.